If I get an early pick, I'm just taking names.
There's no point to take Strat, right? Like, is there a point to take Strat in a best ball format?
And you change your name to Stephen A. Swift. You are the leader. You are a different group of Swifties.
I think Jameson Williams is going to outscore. He's going to outpoint Amon-Ra St. Brown this year.
The stats are kind of fugazi, man.
Come on.
Let's go.
There's like 50 feet of shit and then Kramer and Edwards.
I think it's a buying opportunity for the Chiefs, actually.
If you ever see me take Bryce Young as a quarterback, even as a backup, smack me when you see me in Vegas.
I'm all about Devontae Adams.
They're hurting their own team. You could just turn around later and take, Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin.
I just go, what the fuck are they doing at running back?
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to live draft coverage here on the FFPC YouTube channel of the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. $1 million at stake for these 12 drafters tonight. Hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Eric Balkman. You connect with me on the X at Eric Balkman. Of course, you know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Slowdown, High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, and the HSFF Hour Extra Reps, as well as the Fantasy Football Players Championship. I'm sitting in for the three Goombas tonight, Aiden LaCorey, Jake Venuti, and Dave Terpoli, who will be on the next live draft coverage. More to come on that later on in the program. But I do want to welcome everybody in right now for live Big Gorilla draft coverage. Shout out to the chat room right now. Connect with us on X at FFPC. You can also email us at support@myffpc.com if you have any feedback on this show and this broadcast tonight. I want to bring in our esteemed guest co-host tonight. You connect with them on X at Gambling Podcast, of course, at Sean T. Green, at Kramer Centric, and of course, the hosts and the wunderkinds behind Sports Gambling Podcast. Please welcome in Sean Green and Ryan Kramer. Good to have you tonight, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us. And we're down 3 Goombas, but I'm sitting next to one Goomba. So
do your 3 Goombas have a pizza peel?
Yeah, Kramer.
Come on.
What
is it? I doubt they have a pizza peel accessible in their studio. So let's go.
Winners coming out of the oven. I do like also that I made the intro video of yelling at someone's running back selection. I want to go back and know if I was right or if the drafter was right, because that would be funny if I was dead wrong on that hot take of mine.
It's a great point, and I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that for sure. But it's always fun to call people out. We'll be calling people out tonight, guys. For the uninitiated, I know you have done this live draft coverage before, but if you could give the viewers and listeners a little taste about the Sports Gambling Podcast and what you guys do.
Yeah, we've been picking every NFL game against the spread since 2011. Then we launched the Sports Gambling Podcast Network in 2017. 20 channels and shows under our umbrella. But we just give out a ton of free picks, ton of free podcasts. The flagship show, which Kramer and I host, Sports Gambling Podcast, we're live 5-6 days a week. So we just love picking winners, giving out content,
and very serious
and red
too.
Hot pizza,
very serious.
The best way for people to connect with you is that X, or do you want me to the website? Is that better?
Yeah, just at Gambling Podcast. Honestly, whatever device you have, type in Sports Gambling Podcast. We'll be there.
Okay, perfect. Well, listen, we gotta get into to the draft tonight because they are almost through round 1 here, and we'll flip it up, guys. Let me just adjust this a little bit so it's a little bit easier to read. I always have it super tiny, and I want to make sure. Oop, that's the wrong way. I want to make sure everybody can actually see this and be able to assimilate everything that we're doing tonight. Now, my apologies. I thought I had the list of the drafters up, and I don't. So I'm going to go through the first round, just giving you the team names. And then I'll get in, and I know some of the obviously some of the drafters here tonight. Okay, with the first pick tonight, the Georgia Express ends up taking Jahmyr Gibbs. No surprise. Colin Baxter, that's Sonics forever. He takes Bijan Robinson, number 2. We see Puka Nacua go 3 to Tobacco Road. Then Jamar Chase to Bill Wonky's team at the cleanup spot tonight. Apes with Grapes goes with Christian McCaffrey at the 105. Jackson Smith and Jigba to Tony Pung at the 6th spot. Mongo is appalled but maybe not appalled with the pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 107, followed by CeeDee Lamb to Remy LeBeau in the 8 spot. Yeet Cannons in GB. That's Roderick Dobson taking AJ Brown there. Woo! Brock Bowers going to the Lawfires. I'm not sure. At Team 10, Jonathan Taylor. Hi-Fi is the team that takes him there. And then we wrap up round 1 with GT taking James Cook. Okay, a lot to unpack here. Let's start it off with Sean, with you at Christian McCaffrey at the 105. I'm not willing to take him that high. It seems aggressive, but again, if this guy produces like he has produced in his big years, that's going to be a steal.
It is. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to play the entire year. I'm famous on the Sports Gambling Podcast for accurately predicting the years where Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. And I know you say, oh, you can't predict injury. It's a pretty simple formula. When Christian McCaffrey has a career high in touches, he doesn't follow it up with a healthy season, especially going into year 10 now, coming off a season where he had 413 touches. That's not including even the 2 games in the playoffs. So yeah, sure. If Christian McCaffrey puts up the numbers he did last year in full point PPR, gets another 100 receptions, then yeah, that's an awesome pick. I'm just not using my first round pick on Christian McCaffrey because I don't think he's playing the full season.
Yeah, it's a tough sell for me as well. I mean, I understand the upside there and the ceiling, certainly to take McCaffrey at the 105. That was Gary Morgan's team who ended up taking McCaffrey. He's on deck in the 2nd round. Not something I'd want to do. And then Ryan, my God, actually, Sean, I should ask you about this since you are the resident Eagles guy. AJ Brown creeping in at the 109 tonight, the highest we have seen him go in Big Gorilla drafts in quite a while. That is aggressive, my friend. You saw him up close last year. Is there a decline happening? Did he lose interest? Or is the fact that he now is a Patriot going to rejuvenate him? And there's plenty of good football left for Brown because the 109 is aggressive.
Yeah. Another bad pick here in the first round, unfortunately. Yeah, AJ Brown, the behind the scenes stuff was not good. And I think there was a decline. I mean, you talk about that playoff game against the 49ers with Christian McCaffrey. There were some catchable balls that AJ Brown did not come down with. Look at that Chargers game. I was at that game live. Jalen Hurts dropped the ball in the bucket for AJ Brown and he dropped it. So I think his best years are behind him. That being said, I'm not totally out on AJ Brown. I understand the situation. I understand they're going to do everything they can to get him a ton of volume, but if people go, oh, is he just disinterested? As if that's a positive. Like, no, that's not a positive. You're coming off a Super Bowl season. You're requesting a trade a few games in. I think he's kind of a tough guy to work with here. And the expectations are going to be sky high. That being said, putting all that nonsense aside, I get it. He's still going to probably have a somewhat productive year. I would not take him in the first round. Like some of the other guys around him, Amon-Ra St. Brown, would much rather have him here. Even in FFPC 1.5 point, I would much rather have Brock Bowers than AJ Brown. So even James Cook, you could talk me into Trey McBride and Lawfers off to a very interesting strategy, getting the top 2 tight ends here, cornering the market. So there's just other guys I would take in that spot. And Kramer, I mean, even as a guy who doesn't have skin in the AJ Brown game, this feels high at 9, right?
Well, I've been on the he's mentally soft, he's declining for a while now. I'm welcome to the wagon. No, I mean, look, I would there's 0% chance I would take him here. No, and just from a mouths to feed standpoint. There's a lot of guys to feed up there in New England. You got a couple running backs. You got Romeo Doubs coming in there. You got Boutte lighting up camp. So yeah, I love the volume of Bowers more. Cook, Justin Jefferson, even a lot of guys. I would even Trey McBride. I'm taking before AJ Brown. So yeah,
no, and going back to AJ Brown, he was not happy, and yet he had 121 targets. It's not like they were not getting him the ball. And if anything, they were trying to probably force feed him at times to keep him happy, to possibly the detriment of the own offense.
Well, we know Vrabel knows how to keep people happy with the words. So
The Big Gorilla is what we're covering tonight. Sean Green, Ryan Kramer, and myself, Eric Balkman. These 12 owners have forked over $350, or perhaps if it was their third team, they got that $50 discount on this. And we are gunning for a $1 million grand prize. All these 12 players will be hoping that will end up in their coffers at the end of the year. You can actually compete against them in this tournament. The 7 Bananas promo is live. If you keep getting that seven pick multiple times in a row, we're going to keep throwing escalating FFPC teams in value at you. Best ball tournament entries, main event entries, high society entries, and potentially, if you get that 7 pick 5 times in a row, which one player came 1 pick away from doing last year, Jungle Safari for 4 or $50,000. Register now, myffpc.com. Plenty of live drafts, plenty of slow drafts going on all weekend long with the Big Gorilla. Ryan, this is interesting. You guys alluded to it. Bowers and McBride to Steve Highfield's team at the 10 hole tonight. A very interesting strategy. Has this been something you guys have been ever employed in main event drafts, in Big Gorillas, in Pros versus Joes, where you end up drafting at the right side of the board and then take tight end 1 and tight end 2?
I've definitely done it before, and certainly I think it always feels better once you do it. I know. I guess I have not observed enough drafts to know how common this is, but it does strike me as it has to be a little bit unique. Bowers is usually going earlier than this, and McBride's not usually going to wrap around to where Bowers is going. So I like it from the uniqueness. Always like it from the idea of what could be with you have 2 very high volume, probably going to be on teams losing football games, tight ends here. So yeah, I mean, I like it. The only thing that gets me is you really hate your team in a couple rounds when you're sitting a wide receiver, running back short. That would be my only feedback. But yeah, I mean, certainly, I hope he doesn't worry about tight end the rest of the draft.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where now, I mean, this is a managed league, so you can obviously pick up tight ends if you need to. This is not not locked into it. But even if you were, Bowers and McBride have the tight end position covered for you for the remainder of the draft, and now it's a matter of how Highfield fills in the running backs and receivers here as we get into the 3rd round. We are in the 3rd round right now too. Not much else to say about James Cook. I mean, that's the only other pick I would bring up. James Cook sneaks into the 1st round tonight. He goes at the 112. We see Genty at the 202. Kenneth Walker gets pushed up to the 204. Hampton and Brown fall a little bit tonight. 206. For Omari and Hampton. Chase Brown goes to Tony Pung at the 207. We also see Barkley slip a little bit, not much, at the 208. Loveland gets pushed up to the 209. And then we see the polarizing ends of the age spectrum at running back. Derrick Henry goes at the 210. Jeremiah Love right after him at the 211. And Drake London wraps up the 2nd round. Guys, I think it's interesting. Ryan, if we look at it, more yellow than I'm used to seeing in the 1st round, at least in the middle part of the 1st round tonight, and then more green than I'm used to seeing in the middle part of the 2nd round. Things get a little bit flipped. Running backs slip a little bit tonight. What's your philosophy on running backs this year? Do you need to get 2 out of your first 3 picks, or are you still letting the draft fall to you? And if you start off with receivers and tight ends, you're good with that as well. What's been your running back philosophy?
I know it's almost a younger man's draft board here. No one's starting with 2 wide receivers, which is pretty rare. Yeah, I would say in a normal year, it's like this year for me, it's like I either want Gibbs or Bijan, so I want the top 2 picks, or I'm probably one of the guys who's more likely to take the receiver or the tight end with that first pick, and then maybe take the running back. I do think you feel a lot better if you take a running back in your first 3 picks. Mm-hmm. Especially with the way it kind of falls off. But I'm not going to reach on a guy. Like, I'm certainly not in on McCaffrey. I don't really want to end up with Jonathan Taylor. I'm okay with Cook. I'm not super into the idea of a number of the 2nd round guys, but I do like Hampton. I do like Walker. So that's probably where I fall in that range, but it is tricky. I found myself in FFPC formats taking Loveland earlier because of that. I'm somewhat intrigued. Obviously, I'm a Giants fan, so Neighbors is easier for me to reach on in a late second, early 3rd round situation. But yeah, I don't like the second half of the draft. Sean and I just did the pros versus Droz, and granted that's best ball, but Justin Jefferson and Trey McBride were the route that we took, which both would have been available here as well, just because it's like maybe it's still a bit of a like quote, I don't want to call it old school, but it was like a stretch of 5 years there where you really wanted to start, as they call, like a piss boy, get a lot of yellow in there.
Right.
But now it is changed. But at the same time, it's like a lot of these guys are still older. I can talk my way out of them, and so yeah, I still prefer teams where. Well, I like it when it's Bijan or Gibbs. The rest of the time, I almost like them better when it's receivers.
You know, I have to bring this up here too, Sean, tonight. I'm sure the pick of the draft for you so far has to be at the 302 tonight. Malik Neighbors gets pushed all the way up to wide receiver 10. He is banging on the door of the second round right now. This is a selection that we see from Colin Baxter to be his number one receiver, to go with Bijan Robinson and Jeremiah Love. Sean, you look at that team from the 2-hole. I think you can poke holes in the games of some of those three players. But I look at that squad, all I see is upside. I see the potential for a number one overall running back, number one overall fantasy player, Robinson. I see the potential for a top 3 running back this year with Jeremiah Love. And the way Neighbors is trending right now, my God, we're talking about potentially a top 5 receiver, which I never would have said 2 weeks ago. But now this is the world we're living in right now. What do you make of Baxter's team, Robinson, Love, and Neighbors from the 2-hole?
Yeah. Let's see. Malik Neighbors, I'm still a little skeptical he's going to hit the ground running, but certainly positive injury news, or at least, training camp stuff. If he has an awesome week 1 game and he looks as he did last year, then yeah, you're still getting that discount there in the 3rd round. And I'm a little skeptical that the 2 knee surgeries, he's going to be 100% week 1. That being said, Bijan Robinson, you can't poke holes in Bijan Robinson because it's just an awesome pick. And on top of it, like when we were doing our team previews, one of the future bets I liked was Bijan Robinson to lead the league in rushing touchdowns. You can get that at 16-1 because with no Tyler Algier and 2 not really mobile quarterbacks with Tua and Penix coming off his ACL, I think it just opens the door here for a bunch of rushing touchdowns for Bijan Robinson to grab. Now, Jeremiah Love, there is potential upside certainly, but I'm worried we're going to see like a Ashton Genty type season from this Cardinals running back in Jeremiah Love. And right now, if you're looking at Tyler Algier right now is taking the majority of the number 1 snaps. Now it's early. I do think he's a rookie. I get it. He'll work his way up and maybe he's so dynamic, they're going to have to play him, but it's tough on these bad teams. I would much rather be getting, a Trey McBride, a Michael Wilson. That's the kind of stuff we saw work in garbage time with the Cardinals offense. I'm skeptical of the pick in real life. And then I get it. He's such a good running back. Maybe he just dominates, but it's tough for a really bad team to also have an awesome fantasy running back that's not, involved in the passing game, that could be involved in the 3-headed monster here with Algier and Connor.
The good news is he's the pass catcher. It
right.
seems pretty.
You're right.
And so if things do fall behind, that's where you're going to see the
and maybe that's
talent wins. He
gets all the check down stuff. But Brissett had so much chemistry going with Trey McBride, with Michael Wilson. That's kind of I haven't seen enough change on the defensive side to think they're going to be in a ton of competitive games.
And Nathaniel Hackett, I do worry every time I draft Love onto my team. It's like, my God, this guy's got a job. What are we doing here?
I will say that is always my initial reaction to Ryan, but at the same time, Mike LaFleur should have his fingerprints all over this offense more so than Hackett, right? So I know Hackett's going to be involved, but I still think I have faith in Mike LaFleur here to get things done. Ryan, I want to ask you about Tootin in a second, but Sean, just to wrap up this conversation about Jeremiah Love, it's important obviously to get off to fast starts, especially in the Big Gorilla, in the main event too. Do you have any kind of pause about taking Love now in the 2nd round, given that, Algier's been the guy who's been starting ahead of him, and Love's best fantasy production might come at the end of the season, perhaps when you're already out of it because your 2nd round pick just was not doing enough for you in September and October. Does that philosophy have any kind of legs for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. And to your point, just adding on to that, Algier, we saw him snake all those touchdowns from Bijan in Atlanta last season. So, Yeah, to your point, maybe Jeremiah Love does get there. Kramer made a good point in the garbage, full point PPR certainly has value, and the guy is an awesome running back. It's just, yeah, and to your point, like if you're relying on these, you can't go too. That's the problem of drafting a rookie early. Is to your point, you need to be in that playoff hunt. Otherwise, what are you doing late? Yeah, he might be giving you great weeks, but you might be out of it.
I think that's the point too. Is I'm fine with rookies. I think rookies can really help you, but the higher you take them, the bigger risk you're taking to try to get, to try to advance to the league playoffs, then advance to the championship round. It is a little dicey. One of the great things, guys, I love about the FFPC Big Gorilla, you just never. What Tim Kirchin used to say this for ESPN. Remember, when you go to a Major League Baseball game, you just might see something you never saw before, and that's the same thing with the Big Gorilla. We look at Team 9 tonight. Yeet Cannons in GB. That is Roderick Dobson's team. Guys, look at what he's done. AJ Brown, the highest we've seen AJ Brown go in any Big Gorilla over the last 3 days at the 109. Bayshal Tootin at the 309. The highest, I believe the highest we've seen him go in the last 3 days in any Big Gorilla draft. I'm verifying that right now. I just want to make sure I'm not talking out of my rear end here. But I believe that's accurate. Yes, that is accurate. The highest he went before this was the 404. And then Jonathan Brooks, speaking of the 404, goes at the 404 tonight. The highest he had gone in the last 3 days in the Big Gorilla, and we're talking about like 24 drafts, was the 601. Roderick Dobson, Ryan, is getting his guys here at the 9 hole.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this reminds me of going out to Vegas back when it was at Caesars and just watching someone absolutely shoot their shot by taking like a 4th round guy in the 1st round in the $2,000 main event. If we were on a different platform, the young kids might be saying like, "What is this guy doing? Investigate." Yeah, he's shooting his shot, and like you mentioned, in these tournament styles, sometimes people are so obsessed with, it's stacking and all that stuff is the way of the world. And sometimes people do it to a detriment, but also sometimes people want to be so unique that they do super crazy things. This is a GPP at the end of the day. There's a lot of people in this tournament. So if you're trying to win, you got to be a little crazy, but I don't think this is the way to be crazy. Taking running backs in like that, overpaying for running backs in rounds 3 through 6 is probably not the way to get there.
I'm going to challenge the chat room on this next one because I don't remember. Maybe you guys remember, but there is an issue with Rob Gronkowski. I think maybe it was Aaron Hernandez. I can't remember, but one of those tight ends went down before the season, and it was like when everybody was drafting out in Las Vegas, and we saw some crazy stuff happening with main event drafts. There was a tight end for the Patriots, and I can't remember his name, and that's what I'm asking people. I saw him go at like the 212, the 301. For people who are big believers in the New England Patriots tight end, and I can't remember what his name was. It was like Nathan Felder or Nathan Edelman. I can't remember what it was, but I'd love if anybody can go back and research that. This is what's kind of reminding me of like when you just, it's like a free for all, and you never know what people are going to do next, and obviously all eyes are going to be on Roderick Dobson here as he is on deck in the 5th round to see what he does following the Brown, Tootin, and Brooks pick, certainly. Okay, Sean, back to you. We look at, and this was something that I think Eric Lewis was posting on YouTube right now, and I apologize, Eric, if we did not get to this soon enough for you. He wants to know, what's your thoughts with Josh Allen going at the 12 spot? Do you think that person only took him there to pair with James Cook? We don't often see running backs and quarterbacks pairing up here. Certainly that's more of a ground attack that we see in Buffalo right now rather than a high flying passing attack. Sean, what do you make of Allen going at the 401 to the team that already had James Cook at the 112?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, in one way, you're kind of cornering all the Bills rushing touchdowns, right? Like, between Allen and James Cook, you feel like anytime the Bills are scoring a rushing touchdown, you got a good chance there. Maybe they're high on, Brady taking over as the head coach. I would, it still feels a little early for quarterback, but again, hey, get your guy. If you're a big Bills guy, you think the Bills offense is going to dominate, then you're set up pretty good here. And you got a good chance to I would obviously be looking to get I would have rather done something different and just stacked him with DJ Moore, but certainly you're gonna get a lot of rushing touchdowns here with this setup. So
I think it's also somewhat uniqueness.
Yeah,
back to that whole stacking a quarterback with a running back in a premium sense is not going to be something most people do because of exactly what you're saying, and maybe it's a slight bet too on, like you said, the new offense. If we think that McDermott was putting a wet blanket on the offense, maybe they spread it out. They pass a little bit more. Maybe we see James Cook passing game work go up, which is one of the ways he could have a better season. I know we expect some touchdown regression, but yeah, I think we have teams maybe trying a little too hard to be unique.
I want to get back to the thought of uniqueness in a second here, but I want to remind everybody too, the Big Gorilla that we're covering tonight is just one of 2 FFPC contests that feature $1 million grand prize. The other one is the main event. And we do have, live and slow drafts going on with the FFPC main event right now. In fact, if you wanted to jump in to a main event draft tonight, we do have, it filled. I apologize. I thought we still had spots open coming up in the half hour, but it already filled. The next main event we have at 4 p.m. tomorrow, and there's 9 openings available in that. Remember, once you get your first main event team, you're going to get $600 off each additional team after that. Register now at myffpc.com, myffpc.com. Ryan, we talk about stacking. We talk about being different. Is there less of an emphasis, or should there be less of an emphasis in managed drafts like the main event, like the Big Gorilla, where you can optimize your roster, you can change it up during the season, you can cut players and add players? You're not locked in like you are in best ball. I feel like in managed leagues, there's probably less of an emphasis to do that, or maybe I'm speaking out of turn. How do you view it, the differences between those two formats?
You're still trying to win. I understand you have to get there, and part of getting there is either strong regular season performance as a whole, or winning those playoffs week 13, 14. But you're still trying to have the most points in a 3-week period in a 15, 16, 17 battle, and so you still want to be able to maximize your scoring. And so stacking, whether it's game stacking a quarterback with its receivers, and also adding correlation to the teams they're playing against with some bringbacks, like the DFS methodology still makes sense to me, because you're still trying to win. I assume most people are trying to win the top prize and not trying to finish in like 100th place. And so in order to do that, to get your ceiling, I'll give you an example. I'm in a main event team right now. Went Bijan, Colston Loveland, Jeremiah Love, and then eventually took Burden in the 4th round. So once we've committed with Loveland and Burden in 2 of the first 4 rounds, taking Caleb Williams in the 9th it's not like it's not too much of a pushing more chips into the table. It's just saying we've already made this bet. So why not continue it? Now, I think some people view that as too risky, and maybe 2, 4, and 9 is a tad risky, but it also, again, back to uniqueness, it probably drives the cost of that lineup to be a little bit different. And I think in general in the main event and in FFPC, we don't see stacking as emphasized as some other contests out there. And so, yeah, I still think it's important. The teams that I have done the best for me historically, I have a stack. Now, to your point, you can stack later. You can pick up a guy. Maybe I think it's less important in the best ball sense of like stacking with, or DFS, where you're stacking with a cheaper or undernamed or undervalued receiver later. I think now in the FFPC, I'm way more interested in, hey, I invested a top 2 round pick on a receiver. I should probably be investigating stacking that quarterback, because I probably like the quarterback situation as well. And so, yeah, I generally, you're probably not going to find too many of my main event teams with naked quarterbacks, as they say.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I know that, I talk to so many high stakes players like you guys, obviously, and some other people in the industry. And I think the last couple of years, whether we're talking best ball or managed leagues, there has been more of an emphasis on I'll stack, but only if it like happens to happen, right? Like I'm not going to go out of my way to do it. And I feel like I still kind of am going a little out of my way to do it from now and then, because you're talking about, Ryan, like you're making a bet on this team winning the million, right? And why not increase your odds of making that bet more lucrative by, and I'm speaking in not exact proper terms here, but why not increase the odds of that bet hitting by adding more on, right?
It's all about, you're purely playing for ceiling outcomes.
Right.
And so when you're purely playing for ceiling outcomes, it would make no sense to have Burden in Loveland in this example and not take Caleb Williams in the 9. Even if I'm reaching on Caleb by a couple picks, even if it means I'm taking him ahead of someone that might be ranked higher slightly. Again, it's more about that, you're trying to combine. You're already making a bet, so why not just add on to that bet? And then once you've made that bet, the way I view the idea of a bring back or adding the correlation would just simply be, knowing that Caleb has the Packers in that last 3-game stretch for the Bills, maybe I slightly upgrade some of those middle tier receivers, or backup running backs is more likely where I might do a cute stack because I'm going to have bullets like that anyway, and it's cheaper. But I think the correlation is important.
It is. It definitely is. Especially and it gets more and more important when we have less and less season. When we're talking about the championship round, it becomes that much more important. Sean, we saw a massive wide receiver run here in the 5th and 6th round. 8 consecutive receivers go off the board. The pick that stopped it was Apes with Grapes. That is Gary Morgan's squad. Already having Kyle Pitts adds Harold Fannin as well. So now we have 2 teams. We have Highfill in the 10 spot, and we have Morgan in the 5 spot, already with 2 tight ends each, and it's the 6th round, right? When you see something like this, Sean, and you don't have a tight end, what is your reaction? Is it a non-reaction, or are you actually doing something actively now with your team at that position?
Yeah, it's interesting. And as you just mentioned that, we saw another team now lock up 2 tight ends. So yeah, I think at that point it's like, especially when we're talking George Kittle, I mean, there's a bunch of tight ends obviously off the board that I already like. I think I'm just probably going to shoot my shot later on and just kick it down the line with the idea of like, hey, draft 3 tight ends, come up with some sort of rotation, 3 or 4. I'm not pressing to grab a tight end and force myself into a tight end that I'm not super high on, even here in the 7th, because there's 5 teams with no tight ends. Right. So I still, 6. So interesting breakdown of a bunch of teams getting 2, but I would still end up probably waiting here.
And I think just to interject, I think one of the things that people who do a lot of best ball get surprised when they get into these managed contests is how the same methodologies around the quarterback and tight end positions don't really matter as much. Right. You might not take a backup tight end in this format. Maybe you take it very lately. Your quarterback's going a little bit later, and you're maybe not taking a backup quarterback. And so I think some of that stuff like this, especially in this range, like this round 7 through 10 is kind of where you have to put, like, we'll see if these guys are playing tight end chicken and just going to wait till a bit later, or I think more likely we're going to see some of these teams without tight ends maybe panic a little bit here and pull the trigger.
And as the YouTube chat room is pointing out, there are now 4 teams in this league with 2 tight ends. And as Sean pointed out, there's 6 teams with no tight ends. This could be some fireworks here coming up. If we look at the middle of the board from team 6 through team 9, not only are there no tight ends drafted on any of those 4 teams, there's no quarterbacks either. So it is just pure running backs and wide receivers getting stacked up here. Sean, if we could go back to the 4th round, I just want to bring up Tony Pung's second running back that he drafted at the 407. It's Josh Jacobs. What would you be doing right now if you're drafting in the main event or the Big Gorilla? How do you handle Josh Jacobs when he's staring you in the face in the 4th round?
Yeah, I don't draft him. I mean, if he ends up getting suspended 6 games, are you really going to feel good about having it's one of those things where like they're splitting the difference, right? Of, hey, he's going to miss some games and he's dropping a little bit. That being said, I love the pick in round 5 with Trevion Henderson, who is getting good reports about his pass pro pickup. I think he has a massive ceiling coming up here this season because, they draft Vrabel's like an old school coach. Don't give the rookie too much love. But now year 2, even in like kind of clearly a reduced role, last year. He still had a pretty effective season. Certainly there was so much hype. Being a rookie, didn't live up to it per se in fantasy, but I think he's primed for a breakout season. So yeah, I would not be taking Jacobs there in the 4th round.
I think regarding the Henderson Stevenson thing, and Ryan, I should ask you this too. Henderson at the 506, Stevenson at the 710. Do you think that gap gets closer or wider as the season goes on? As the drafting season goes on, beg your pardon. I think that they were tightening up now for quite a while prior to training camp started. And now I think they're getting a little bit further apart again between Henderson and Stevenson. I'll echo what Sean just said too. I wondered myself, throughout the entire year of drafting season so far, how much of Henderson's benching was because he was simply a rookie, right? And there is a switch that is flipped, or a flip that is switched in year 2 for Vrabel and McDaniel, and then they just feel like, okay, now we can trust this guy. Henderson did lead them in rushing last year, and I know there's a lot more excitement with drafting Henderson over Stevenson, but I guess we can't forget about Stevenson totally, can we, Ryan?
I think, we pulled the trigger on him in a best ball draft. I think it's much easier to draft into this running back room in best ball, because I do think you're likely to miss out on Hendo week if you're not sure. He's going to have some weeks where he pops, and you just got to hope you're on the right side of it. Now, in this case, he's probably locked into being a starter for you early, so you'll catch it. And I, as far as the gap between them, I think it's because of the ceiling. Like, Henderson could be very good. I think with Ramondre, it's like, okay, steady. He's going to do his job. He's going to score some points. But the reason you like Trevion Henderson's the upside. I just think in managed leagues, I don't love it as much because I don't know what it's going to look like week to week.
I think the other thing to keep in mind too is the upside. The ceiling guy is always going to go first, but everybody has to make their decision on how much they're willing to pay for that ceiling or that potential for ceiling, right? And we see it tonight. Tony Pung was definitely willing to pay the mid 5th round price on Trevion Henderson, which I'll echo what you're saying, Sean. I think that's a good price for Henderson. And then you can get Stevenson later, but Stevenson is not going to help you in the same way potentially that Henderson could. You look at Steve Heifels' team. He pairs Stevenson with Breece Hall. Stevenson is a fine, borderline number 2, number 3 running back. But is he going to help you win that million? Maybe, maybe not. And maybe you don't need him to with the start that Steve's had. It's important to keep in mind that people in these high stakes drafts, they're always going to put a premium on ceiling. And we see that again tonight with the Patriots running back, Sean.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I saw Nikki in the chat saying Henderson was overrated last year and underrated this year. Totally agree with that comment, because it was, rookie, massive upside. He's the best. And he had, very good in preseason and then had a good year. But, and I think people drafted him probably too high last year, got burned, and now are sleeping on him this year. So yeah, totally agree with that sentiment on Henderson.
That's the best thing that can happen for a player like this sometimes is they burn people.
They burn. Yeah. Cause fantasy, again, people who drafted him last year too high are like, I'm not doing that again this year. But like, no, you gotta be like a cornerback and have a short memory sometimes with these guys, right? Like, hey, last year was last year. And especially a guy making a year 2 jump with the same system, with the same head coach. Love him this year.
That was the exact analogy I was going to bring up, was the corner, where you have to have a short memory, but you also want to learn from your mistakes, right? You want to learn what you did right and what you did wrong, but you just want from a performance standpoint, the stuff that was bad, you forget about it. Maybe even the stuff that was good, you just forget about it and you're on to the next play, you're on to the next draft, you're on to the next pick, just like Roderick Dobson is from the 9 hole tonight. Speaking of Nikki Banks, she says Team 9 strikes again. The selection at the 604, Brian Thomas. Okay, fine. And then the pick at 709, Trevor Lawrence ahead of Joe Burrow, ahead of Drake May. Trevor Lawrence is the 3rd quarterback off the board. And there's a bunch of it's like we'll rename Roderick Dobson's team from Yeet Cannons in GB to the Zoo, because there is a lot of Jaguars on this team right now. Bashal Tutin, Brian Thomas, and Trevor Lawrence all on this team. Certainly, Ryan, I'm all for getting pieces of that Jaguars offense. I don't know if I would be paying the premium to get them right now. I feel like he's passing up significant value that he could be collecting instead.
As a board member for the Jagoff Corporation, this guy is making a strong case to hop on and maybe drive the wagon a little bit. I mean, I understand the positive case on why Thomas could have a better year. You know, he was dealing with some off the field stuff. His mind wasn't in the game. He also had some preseason injury stuff. Apparently he's all the way bought back in. Travis Hunter's only kind of running routes in training camp. I like Trevor Lawrence as much as the next guy. Fun scheduling fact: they give up 2 home games this year, or they play them in London. And I think the overpay of Tutin is probably more egregious to me. But again, there's their double stack, right? Certainly going after it. I don't hate some of the other. I don't hate some of the picks here, but it does seem like there was a lot of Liam. Maybe this is Liam Cohen. Maybe this certainly it's a Jags fan. I mean, I think a yeet cannon is a gun, so it's maybe it's a Florida thing, but I think this could actually be a real life Jags fan.
I saw the team yeet cannons in GB. I figure, oh, this guy's going to be drafting a bunch of Packers. No, the cannons missed and they went south, and they're hitting everything in Jacksonville right now. We talked about this, Sean, about what would happen, what would the reaction be from team 6 to 9 with all these tight ends being grabbed. And you laid out a few possibilities, and it looks like it is tight end chicken right now. We are now into round 9. Those 4 teams do not have any tight end. They are the only 4 teams, in this league that do not have any tight ends. We'll see what they do here. But there are, quite frankly, there's only 12 tight ends off the board. Still a lot of value. Sean, how do you view the depth at tight end this year? I think that, and I can't remember who was saying this. Somebody said it a few weeks ago. It's one of these things where you think tight end is a super deep position, and then we actually play out the season and we find out, oh yeah, I guess there was only 3 or 4 good tight ends this year. All these guys look good in the preseason, and then the execution doesn't all look all that great, but maybe it's different this year. How do you assess the depth at tight end in FFPC drafts?
Yeah, no, interesting. And then obviously the premium on PPR kind of makes it a little different of an equation. But yeah, I mean, even with these top 12 guys off the board, I don't team 2 getting the Mark Andrews. I think you can make a good case for that. No, Isaiah Likely creates massive opportunity there for Mark Andrews. My boy Dallas Goedert still available, and you look at obviously losing AJ Brown. Yeah, Jalen Hurts has a history of throwing to guys that he has some chemistry with. Dallas Goedert coming off a career high 11 receiving touchdowns, and a lot of that was they drew up these design plays for Dallas Goedert right near the end zone. Some of those were placed the tush push. It'll be interesting to see if that carries over here with the new offensive coordinator. I think Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith are gonna have they're going to be eating up a lot of that AJ Brown production that walked out the door with his self-help book. So I'm always Goddard and Devontae Smith. I'm optimistic on as a fan here, but there are some good choices down the board. And I just saw Team 6 draft Chig Okonkwo. I've had a love affair for Chig Okonkwo over the years. Dalton Kincaid off the board. I would rather have Dalton Kincaid. And there we go. Dallas Goedert spoke him into existence. Yeah, I would. Of these 3, I probably go Goddard, Kincaid, then Chig, or maybe if you want to make a non-homer case for Kincaid, I understand that. Chig, I'm a little skeptical of. I'm a guy who burned a bunch of money in best ball roster spots chasing the Chig Okonkwo dream because he has that massive upside, but he hasn't had reliable production. And as your first tight end in a tight end premium league, the floor is pretty low for Chig. So I would not have wanted to draft him. This feels high for me for Chig. The other 2, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I would have rather had Kincaid than Okonkwo. I'd rather have Goddard than Okonkwo, but it's close between those. And obviously with, the board moving this way and knowing, Tony Pung knowing that team 7, 8, and 9 don't have tight ends, he might've had to get his guy there and may not come back to him in the 10th round. So I get it. I want to ask you, Ryan, about the pick at 508 from Remy LeBeau, taking Jadarian Price to go with Devon Achane. I don't know if you're buying into this Charbonnet potentially playing week 1, or how you think Emmanuel Wilson and George Halani are going to factor into this. I'm starting to warm up to Jadarian Price. He's been making some plays in camp, and for whatever reason, he hasn't really moved up draft boards at all. He goes at running back 27 tonight. I'm not a Price guy, but I am at that price. Ryan, how do you feel about him?
I think we see this all the time. It's like Love is getting the same treatment in some regard. It's almost like the coaching staff goes out of their way to talk up everyone else. Maybe they're an old school coaching staff and they want the rookie to earn it, or maybe, they want to try to be coy about how they're going to run it out. But at the end of the day, generally, you look at running backs in the NFL, and they, when they come from the first round, they tend to have a better chance of being great.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, do I think Halani, they trust in the passing game? Sure. Did they sign Emmanuel Wilson to bring in and give snaps to? Sure. Kind of like Tyler Algier in Arizona. But I think the running back, in this case, Price, has a chance to really show some stuff. And the Charbonnet thing is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I think I'm not a medical professional, but why? If you think this guy is a part of your future and you literally just drafted this running back, it doesn't make sense. And we've not seen great success outside of Adrian Peterson like a decade ago. We've not seen great success from running backs rushing back. If anything, it's the year after the year. We just saw what happened with Jonathan Brooks when he tried to rush back. And so, yeah, I don't understand this narrative at all, especially when you invest a first round pick in it. It's just like going back to Nathaniel Hackett getting excited about James Conner. It's like, cool, I get it. You just drafted this guy with a premium pick for a reason. So yeah, I again, and it might not be early to what you were saying earlier about maybe it might take some time, but not everyone at the running back position has a chance to get the job and have a ceiling like these young rookies. And so
to adding on to that, the guy who does do our injury stuff, the DGen Doc on X at the DGen Doc, who I trust on a lot of this injury stuff, he responded to the Charbonnet saying, quote, "One of the most clickbait nonsense injury headlines I've read in a long time, up there with Aaron Rodgers' 4-month speed bridge Achilles." Zach Charbonnet had ACL surgery on February 20th, 2026. That gives him less than 7 months of recovery time until NFL week 1. No surgeon in their right mind is clearing an ACL to play before 9 months. There's a better chance he misses the entire season than plays week 1, quote unquote, potential close call, laughy face emoji. So,
but I don't have the specific news, but the case that changed the world with ACLs and made it from 12 to 9 was Adrian Peterson. And I think it's since come out that Adrian Peterson may have, or they may have just ignored the doctor's suggestions.
Well, and also if you saw the recent alien release files, Adrian Peterson was listed there because he's from another planet. So I don't, I mean, that his recovery was,
he changed everything and no one's done it since really.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And certainly
what I don't get is why.
Hold on, Ryan. I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, what happened?
Team 6 drafted a kicker.
Oh, and a cowboy.
This is an insane move.
Well, I will say, like our good buddy Steve G says, there's only 2 or 3 kickers that kick touchdowns in the NFL, and Aubrey's one who kicks touchdowns. And I do wonder too, Sean. Like I think like it's like I don't want to say it's old school, but it's sort of just been traditional that you don't really take a kicker, until like your last few picks of the draft, right? But now we're seeing with some of these guys like Cam Little, like Brandon Aubrey, Kaimi Fairbairn, just like 6. I think it was Vinatieri was saying this the other day. 60 is the new 50, right? And
it's insane.
But I wonder what that does for fantasy. Should we be putting more of a premium on these upper echelon kickers? Because similar to tight end, there is a significant drop off after the top 3.
Yeah, and I guess you can, getting that 6.2 or whatever for a 62-yarder is pretty nice to your kicking touchdowns point, but it's still kicking. And it's still the only time I've spent time stressing over kickers was when I did the bare knuckle and I had to memorize which that is if you've never done it, you want to challenge yourself mentally do it just for because the kick. It's not like you get to say the team's kicker. You got to remember all these guys, and my goodness. But yeah, no, it's crazy to do. This is crazy talk. Yeah, I appreciate the angle, but no, thank you.
How did you do in bare knuckle, Ryan? That year that you drafted it.
So the big mistake I made was, and I want to say I finished probably bottom half of the league because my quarterbacks all got injured, and that was the biggest thing I was shocked by. Is quarterbacks go way earlier, both because they're easier to remember, and then there's only a finite amount, and so that was kind of I may have made a mistake with my second quarterback, and then just.
Did you draft Daniel Jones or something?
No, it might have been a year where Daniel Jones was going like in round 10 or something like that. So there might have been mistakes made, but I'd say the two craziest takeaways were quarterbacks go way earlier than you expect, and really hard to remember kickers' names.
Yeah, I would say too. Like if I'm on the clock, because it's only a 30-second clock that you have. Obviously, no paper, no computer, no phone, no nothing. Like you have to memorize everything. And I would always like try to have a quarterback in the back of my head, and I'm trying to think of like, okay, what running back or receiver or tight end. And then like my panic selection, would just be Mark Sanchez, when it's 3 seconds left on the clock or whatever it is, just so I could get somebody that's going to contribute. I'm talking about when Sanchez was starting. For the Jets.
Not when he was in jail.
No, so nothing like that. No.
That year I had, I max entered, one of the other major contests. So I was like, I could literally visualize the list of players. Like that's how I did it. I didn't, to your point, it's very difficult to maintain a queue in your mind without any paper to cross off names. And all you can really, and even when you're not sure, you have to like cross-reference this board, and it is quite stressful, but that's what made the kickers hard. Is I had done hundreds of drafts, but most of those drafts didn't involve kickers. And so Sean and I come out to Vegas for week 1 every year. We often go down and hang out with the FFPC crew for the Thursday night game. And I'm the whole time I literally made flashcards to study these kickers' names. And it was just, it was the least fun part of if I was going to make one update to the bare knuckle, just give people team kickers, just say Giants kicker. Well, cause the other thing is it's season long best ball where you already have to draft 3 kickers, because if one gets hurt or cut, you're screwed. And so, it's a hell of it's like one of those 5x5 Rubik's cubes.
Guys, Chris Lude chiming in on our YouTube chat tonight about apes with grapes, the team 5 tonight, or the team drafting from the 5th spot. That's Gary Morgan. We've talked about a few of his picks. Chris is a fan of the team as it sits right now. He's only got 3 running backs, and he's on the clock right now. He's only got 3 running backs through 10 rounds, 4 receivers in Rice, Higgins, Godwin, Quentin Johnston. He does have a little bit of a hookup here with Johnston and Justin Herbert on the squad. McCaffrey, Barkley, and Marshawn Lloyd are the running backs. Sean, do you like this team as much as Chris Lude does here through the first half of it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Christian McCaffrey. Hopefully, I'm wrong about him definitely getting injured. But other than that, I mean, Harold Fannin, I'm a huge fan of. I get the upside. Kyle Pitts, I get that. We'll see how much Tua is thrown to the tight end there, and if you can get some of that progress we saw there late in the season, if that carries over, that's exciting. Justin Herbert in the Mike McDaniel offense, easy to project an upside. Interesting. He went with Quentin Johnson. Ladd McConkey went pretty. I mean, I think I like Ladd McConkey, but I do think Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston should be drafted a little bit closer than they are. Like Quentin Johnson really just kind of came to life last year. It seemed like something clicked mentally with him and Harbaugh, and obviously no Keenan Allen creates a bunch of opportunity for both McConkey and Johnson. So Herbert Johnson stack, that's pretty fun. Jaden Higgins, fun upside, young receiver there. So I can see why you're excited about this team. The other guy is Rashee Rice, who again, question marks with potential injury stuff, potential suspension.
It's unique because it's an old guy, high ceiling. It's like a high risk injury, miss games for various reasons, but high ceiling guys. And honestly, if you're going to invest top like 2 of your first 3 picks or your first 2 picks in running backs, I kind of think 3 running backs through 10 rounds is right. And then you're going to fill out some bullets later. I think, I again, in the FFPC, you tend to see a little bit more green up the board, but that feels right to me when you've used your first 2 picks. I mean, he did. I think this team has done a nice job to fill out all the positions with some decent depth, and also the kind of guys that you'll know, like Chris Godwin, probably going to be pretty useful or injured, and so it's going to be a little less ambiguous, which sometimes is nice in these managed leagues, right? Like I'll draft Brandon Ayuk in a league like this because if he doesn't sign anywhere, it's easy to cut him. Same with Diggs or Debo before he signed a couple days ago.
That's a good nickname for Chris Godwin in 2026. Useful or injured? ? We are covering the Big Gorilla draft here tonight on the FFPC YouTube channel. Sports Gambling Podcast Network's own Sean Green and Ryan Kramer joining me. You can participate in the Big Gorilla draft if you'd like. Plenty of drafts going on this weekend. I think that's something that we did cool this year is the introduction of the Baby Gorilla. If you've always wanted to play high stakes fantasy football for a massive 6-figure grand prize, but the entry was just too big of a barrier, check out the Baby Gorilla. It's only $125 to enter. Same managed format with waivers, blind bids, setting lineups, everything like that. But it's only $125 to enter, and it's $100,000 grand prize. Baby Gorilla drafts going off both in the live and slow draft format all weekend long at myffpc.com, myffpc.com. I want to bring this up with you, Sean, and ask you about Casey Concepcion, the pick at 11:02 tonight to Sonics Forever. Sonics Forever is Colin Baxter's squad. And there has been sort of like, I don't want to say a scuttlebutt, but a healthy conversation going on social media and in FFPC draft rooms about the role that Denzel Boston might have in his rookie year in Cleveland. And perhaps that the gap between Concepcion and Boston probably shouldn't be as big as it currently is. And it has been tightening up. Do you have a feeling on which Browns rookie receiver you were going to bet on in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be a wet blanket, but I'm not super optimistic about the Browns passing game. I mean, we have a quarterback competition between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, and
don't forget Taylon Green,
Dylan
Gabriel.
I mean, to me, the only Browns pass catcher I'm really interested in full point PPR is Harold Fannett, and the fact that you have Casey Concepcion and Boston. It's like, is one of them going to be a big hit and the other's not? I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle where both these guys are going to eat into their production. And you're probably right. They probably should be closer to each other. And Casey Concepcion maybe should be a little farther down there with Boston. It's just tough for me to get super excited about a Browns receiver right now. I don't mean to be super negative, but I watched a lot of Shedeur. I've watched a lot of Deshaun Watson. It's just tough to really get excited about either. Now it's a first round pick in the 11th round. Maybe he just completely lights it up, but he's going to be competing with Boston. He's going to be competing with them pounding the ball with Judkins. He's going to be competing with Harold Fannett. And unfortunately for fantasy, the Browns defense, I think, will still be somewhat competitive. So I think it's just going to be a lot of ugly games with not a lot of great offensive output from Cleveland, which makes it a tough click, either one of them, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think people are clamoring to draft Browns receivers this year at all. But I do think that there is going to be fantasy value with one of them. And the frustrating thing could be to kind of like even make it worse, that number one could fluctuate, game to game. Where some games it's a Boston game, some games it's a game.
Yeah, to your point, even if there is value, it might be tough to pick them each week and
in
accurately in managed league especially, it might be tough to will Casey Concepcion have some big games? Maybe, but are you going to be able to pick them out week to week? Makes it even tougher. Click for me.
I don't want to keep bringing this back to Roderick Dobson's squad at the 9-hole tonight, guys, but God bless him. He is giving us a lot of fodder to talk about. And we see OTR 513 Cyrus Allen at 11:09 is wild. It is wild. Cyrus. So Adam Hahn, and I don't know where he is tonight. He may not be watching this, but Adam Hahn watches a lot of the FFPC podcasts that I do on YouTube or whatever. And he's the only guy that has brought up Cyrus Allen in the chat all season long until tonight, where we see Cyrus Allen not only getting drafted, but getting drafted at the 11:09 tonight. God bless you, Roderick Dobson. This has been a fun ride, and we're only just over halfway through.
Shooting his shot.
I not to make it a little less random. There were some very major fantasy social media pages that were posting positive things about his camp so far. He's been the favorite target of Patrick Mahomes, and so I could see him. I mean, this is crazy buzz.
Yeah. But again, this goes back to, I love a guy who goes into a draft and says, fuck it, it's fantasy football. I want this guy on my team. Totally get that. But there's a middle ground where Cyrus Allen is my guy. Good. Get him in round 18.
But also you're also then pounding the table and taking Kyler Murray ahead of Jackson Dart. That may be one of the worst decisions I've seen.
Even as a guy who likes making fun of Jackson Dart, that's an insane take.
I mean, he's getting outplayed by JJ McCarthy, according to all the JJ McCarthy symptoms.
Well, I even like non JJ media members have said JJ's ahead of him. Now that could just be Kyler's learning, the offense. JJ has a head start, but I don't know. I mean, Kyler Murray playing an entire season, that's tough, but maybe the scrambling ability, et cetera, et cetera. To Kramer's point, taking him above Jackson Dart, I think is wild.
Steve Urgalos chiming in about Cyrus Allen, guys, in the YouTube chat. He says the greatest fantasy player he knows says Cyrus Allen is going to be the wide receiver 1 on Kansas City, and he's been taking him for weeks. Now, I don't know, if I'm subscribing to that. I definitely have not been following Cyrus Allen enough in training camp to make a call one way or the other on that. Non-zero chance of anything in life, right? But to your point, Sean, I think, Sean, you're making this point. Cyrus Allen's ADP in the 5 drafts he has been selected in over the last 3 days in the Big Gorilla, which means like 20 drafts he wasn't selected in at all. His ADP was 1904. The highest he had been chosen was the 1802. If you believe in Allen and you want to get him, sure, go ahead. But to take him 7 rounds earlier than the highest he's gone over the last few days, basically since training camp started, is certainly, as the kids say, a decision.
He's also a receiver who's under 190 pounds. He's under 6 foot. It like there's a lot of things going. Yeah, but it's the first week of training camp, so it's the best time to get really excited about your new favorite player.
Yeah, we will see. We will follow. At least I'm going to be following Cyrus Allen a lot more closely after I see this tonight. You guys brought up the Kyler Murray thing, which was funny. I do think that the Dak Prescott choice by Richard Rumsey here at the 1202. Boy, talk about fantastic value in a year when quarterbacks are falling, to fill in all those running backs and all those receivers, getting Tucker Kraft, who I think was the tight end 2 at the time he tore his ACL last year, and then still end up with Prescott in the 12th round. That's chef's kiss. Great. I love that pick there.
I saw that video. He looks like he's been doing steroids or something. I'm a little worried about his flexibility. Tough to throw a football with all those muscles. I mean, certainly I appreciate anyone who's willing to play quarterback chicken, not to use the terminology again, but in some cases now I would have been through the moon if I was that team and I was able to snag Jackson Dart with that 12th round pick. But I'm glad he got his guy. And to your point, you like your team so much better when you don't take a quarterback early. Cause
look at Team 7 got Jaden Daniels and Jackson Dart. The 2 mobile quarterbacks you got pretty late here. Now maybe you're struggling to decide which to start which week, but I think you got to feel okay about your spot there.
I was listening to JJ Zacharyson talk today about this exact thing about drafting quarterbacks later on, waiting on quarterback. And he said the goal when you do that, when you wait on quarterback and you try to draft 2 of them, the goal is that one of them makes the decision really easy for you. And you ride that guy the rest of the season. Your backup option is streaming, where you're kind of picking and choosing and hoping you guess right from week to week. Right. And with this Daniels Dart thing, I think if these guys do have good seasons, and I think that they both could. I know, Sean, you're less bullish on Jackson Dart, but they both could. It might be maddening some weeks, in a managed format to try to figure this out. It's a little bit different if it's like, I'm trying to think of a good example, like Herbert and Malik Willis, or Brock Purdy and I don't know, Sam Darnold or something like that, where you kind of know which guy you're starting week to week. But both these guys with the upside that they have, Sean, it's going to be difficult unless there's an injury, or unless, maybe they lose one of their weapons, or it's a tough defensive matchup that week. It could be frustrating, and you might end up screwing it up more than you think.
Giants do get at Detroit, at Dallas in week 16 and 17. And so those could be some shootouts.
Yeah. And your point, it's going to be, even if you do choose right, it's going to be somewhat annoying wasting a roster spot on a guy like Jaden Daniels or Jackson Dart. Cause obviously you can't start both there.
But my experience in this format, and this is I've only done the $350 one a couple times, although I'm old enough to remember when the same guy won back-to-back years, which is pretty crazy. But in general, I've probably not done the thousands of teams you need to have a proper sample size, but I find that it's all or nothing. You either want a quarterback that's a clear starter, and then the backup is either like just for the bye week, or you're not even holding a backup for a little while. Or more of the teams that I've had some success with had two serviceable quarterbacks, not so much I feel like when you worry about a weekly decision, you're just not confident in your own stuff. And so it's nice to have that guy, because nowadays quarterbacks get hurt. And nowadays it's a lot nicer to not have to rely on who's available. And so I've drafted only one main event team up until this point, but two quarterbacks were drafted before the 12th round. And so I could see myself I don't mind that strategy, especially if you're waiting. To Sean's point, you see Hurts, Daniels, Herbert, Purdy all going in the 9th and 10th rounds, like that. It does feel like, and then you can back it up with another one right away if there is any sort of uncertainty, like Mahomes in the 13th. My goodness.
Well, Ryan, that's what I was going to ask you. When have you ever seen a team in any of the drafts you've ever done draft a kicker and a defense and then Patrick Mahomes?
No, that great point. That is
how the mighty have fallen.
Well, and for him to get him there as his number one, that's got to feel okay. You're not too pissed off if you were able to snag. Now, Mahomes is probably under the category of quarterbacks I want to pair with someone else.
Yeah.
And so I'll be curious to see what he does here.
Mahomes.
But what I find interesting about Mahomes this year is that Kelsey's going comically late. Rashee Rice is probably the only guy who's overvalued. Xavier Worthy is, essentially free. Cyrus Allen generally free. Maybe not and then Kenneth Walker's the expensive one, but just stacking Patrick Mahomes is cheaper than it's ever been. And so, in fact, my main event team, I think I'm team 2, team 1, I think went with a Rice, Kelsey Mahomes throwback stack.
I just, Broderick Dobson from the 9-hole, Eli Raridan, and then the rookie tight end for New England. And then the following round, Dalton Schultz, who had, like 70 some catches last year. It's just, he's, I don't know if he's watching this, but I guarantee you wherever he's drafting from the comfort of his home, perhaps out and about on the FFPC app, that dude is probably having more fun than anybody else in this draft tonight doing this.
This is a week 1 of training camp draft, right?
Right. Yes,
it's like he read all that. He's like, oh, I like this guy. I like this guy.
All the headlines.
That guy.
Speaking of week 1 of training camp, team 12 selecting Ricky Pearsall.
Oh no,
must be very optimistic about the injury, because there were reports from the 49ers beat reporters he might not play, and you always are like, oh, can I get some value on a guy that everyone's down on? To me, the biggest red flag is them bringing in Deebo Samuel. That to me is like, okay, they don't think they're going to get much from him.
But where are you willing to gamble, knowing you can drop if he let's say he gets the surgery, he's going to miss the season. You just drop him. It's not a huge risk at that point.
That's true. I guess but it still feels like kind of like a dead pick right now.
Anytime I've been on the fence with those kind of picks, they've been wrong. Whether it's Josh Gordon and a potential suspension, or it's like the news is right up against the draft. He was sitting there Friday in whatever ballroom we're at, and it's like, okay. But yeah, every time I've gambled, but you see this guy is gambling on Evans. He's gambling on Watson. He's gambling on Worthy. He's at least when you're taking receivers at this point in the draft, there's two types of receivers. There's guys that have roles that might not be that interesting, but you're going to get something there. And then there's ceiling guys. And so at least he's playing the ceiling, which I guess is the right way to do it.
By the way, 3 Niners receivers go off the board in round 13. Pearsall at the 13-12, Stribling at the 13-4, and then Deebo Samuel at the 13-3. I think it goes without saying Pearsall will be handled differently, much differently in the FFPC Best Ball Tournament right now as compared to the Big Gorilla, which we're covering tonight. The Best Ball Tournament's kind of cool this year because we have a $400,000 grand prize as opposed to $300K, which is what it was last year. $125 to enter. It is a 20-round slim format, no kickers, no defenses. Try to take a chance at winning $400,000 this year in the FFPC Best Ball Tournament at myffpc.com. Live drafts and slow drafts going throughout the weekend and through the remainder of drafting season. So we mentioned Samuel, we mentioned Pearsall. Sean, where does Stribling fit in to the Niners right now? Obviously, Evans is there. I don't know if there's too many people betting on him playing all 17 games this year. And then you have Christian Kirk, who's already dinged up, may not make the team. And Stribling, I've been talking about him a lot on Pros versus Joes this week and the other shows, that this dude was one pick away from being a first-round pick in the NFL. And I know a lot of people, we don't want to have take lock because we have to reevaluate once we see draft capital on these players. And I don't know if a lot of people have reevaluated DeJon Stribling a whole lot after the Niners took him so early. What are you doing with Stribling now that we know that this Pearsall thing looks really bleak?
Yeah, no, I don't mind taking Stribling there. I mean, the 49ers are pretty stubborn about like, hey, we like our guys, we're gonna get our guys. They're like Team 9 here in this draft. They don't care about your ADP. They're gonna get their guys. Stribling is a guy I don't mind taking a shot on here in round 13 in that 49ers offense. You got Kittle coming back from a major injury. You have Mike Evans, who is getting up there in age. Christian Kirk, like you mentioned. And yeah, Joe King pointing out Stribling was around 18 pick weeks ago. So maybe the truth somewhere in between again, like maybe 13's a slight overpay, but around 13, I don't mind taking massive upside. And Kyle Shanahan's got a good offense. He brought him in. He likes him. So I don't hate that at all. Obviously, I like him much better than Pearsall, and I think the ceiling could be decently high here for him.
Not even going to mention the electrical substation.
Well, so they already got Christian Kirk. They got Shanahan for being a little too close in the investigation. I mean, the fact that their coach has a concussion injury. Now it seemed like it was serious, but it seems like he's all right. So you can kind of joke around with about, but my God, they're already off to a horrible injury start. But this is the 49ers, right? They're always injured. They're always banged up. They're getting good quarterback play from Mac Jones randomly. Like they just kind of figure it out. So that being said, I think Stribling has a good chance here for a role.
It is crazy to think about, like Pearsall dealing with the PCL swelling. Obviously, Evans no stranger to hamstrings. We know that Kittle is coming off the torn Achilles. Kyle Shanahan's concussed. Who's the one healthy guy in San Francisco? Of course, it's the dude who touched the ball 4,000 times last year in Christian McCaffrey, right? Makes perfect sense. Football's a funny game, for sure. We are now into the 15th round, guys, of this draft, and teams are obviously starting to shape up here. Travis Hunter, Ryan, goes at the 1502. A player I'm much more willing to take a chance on in managed leagues like the Big Gorilla rather than a best ball format where I might be locked into a lot of zeros. I've heard so many different things from the coaches, from Travis Hunter himself, from other high stakes players. I'm kind of curious as to how you would handle Travis Hunter in a format like this. Are you willing to take a shot on him in the 15th round? We also have to understand that while we can release him or bench him on any given week if it looks like he's playing a lot of defense, if you do that, you do risk sitting him on one of his blow up weeks as well. He's kind of like he's an enigma wrapped in a riddle, smothered in secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably, I get the sense that they don't want to use him a ton, and if you're using him, you're chasing touchdowns. It almost feels like he's kind of like a tight end replacement more than anything. I'll happy to be wrong here. I think the best thing he does is his ability to, get after the ball in the air. I think the route running was obviously a little bit of a problem. It probably is going to prevent him from, again, doing too much outside of red zone. And so I understand why you take a stab here, right? It's the same as drafting someone that's not on a roster. But to me, I look at some of even if we just talk receivers, some of the receivers that are on the board right now, I think I'd rather take a shot on, either because they're going to be getting more targets, or because I just have more faith that they're going to actually be a part of the offense. I really don't think Travis Hunter is going to be a big part of the offense. And so I guess I'll happy to be wrong there, but yeah. And just to use it as example, let's see, has AD Mitchell gone yet?
I don't think so. I'm going to look it up, but I don't think he's gone.
That would be an example of someone I'd much rather take a stab on in an offense where they're going to have to be maybe passing the ball a lot. There's not a ton of what's Travis Hunter best case? The fourth receiver on that team, maybe the fifth. So yeah, I'm not interested. I hope he looks good as a cornerback too, because that's the other side of this. If he looks really good as a cornerback, I don't think you're going to be dying to
and they need the cornerback help.
Run him out there as a receiver.
Yeah.
Guys, and Sean, I'll throw this one to you. Remy LeBeau ends up taking to Damon Claiborne in the 15th round. I know he's a rookie, but he was a highly productive college running back. And the guys that he's behind right now are Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. Hardly guys that are striking fear into opposing defensive coordinators at this spot of their careers. Minnesota's offensive line looks to be getting quite a bit more healthy this year. Certainly what could hurt Claiborne is Kyler Murray not wanting to dump off to him, even with Claiborne getting into the game. But I do wonder how much upside, Sean, you think there is with Claiborne there this year. Perhaps third on the depth chart now, but the bar to jump over to the starting job may not be that high.
Yeah, and you got some veterans who, getting up there in age a little bit. Claiborne. We just did our Vikings preview. The Vikings fan we had on, he was kind of optimistic about him. These are the type of guys that I'm totally fine taking, dart throws here late. But honestly, if it was me, I would have gone, in this area. I like. Now I would have went Keelan Black, because that's a guy, there's already injuries in San Francisco. I'm a little skeptical that Christian McCaffrey stays healthy the entire season. So Black, I think, is someone I would rather take in this spot, but I understand the upside case for Claiborne. Certainly.
I love all these running backs.
Yeah.
This is a great Claiborne, Black, Braylon Allen, Brian Robinson, Nicholas Singleton. This is, I love loading up on running backs in this kind of range.
Well, and this is I should ask you guys, because after we spoke with you, were you guys doing Pros vs. Joes on Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were drafting next to a B-Bag Batobo who won the mid-stakes contest in 2019 and 2020. And I noticed what you guys did after we did our interview. You pounded green. There was a ton of running backs that you had, these backup running backs at 12. I wonder, Sean, is that the type of strategy that you think teams should be doing in this format as well? At this point in the draft, I should say.
I think, at this point you have your starting quote unquote lineup ready to go. And now you're playing those upside bullets, because a guy like Keelan Black might pop. I would not pick these kind of guys that I don't know, the type that even like Kamani Vidal, it's fine, but I would rather take a younger guy where it's easier for me to project a massive upside. So some of it is how the board shakes out. Some of it, the Pros versus Joes is best ball format. So a little different strategy there, but I think you're taking in these rounds, it's all running back and receiver bullets in my mind, and young guys are certainly fun to play into that.
So the time of the draft, when I always like to make my public service announcement for those people who think quarterbacks are being discriminated against. Quarterbacks are falling more so than ever. People are disregarding quarterbacks in these start one quarterback leagues. If you want to fight that injustice, there is no better way to do it than playing in the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament, which you can do so for $35. Play for $100,000 grand prize. You value quarterbacks. There's tons of other people who do too, and they will push them up the draft board, and you can get your fill of early round quarterbacks as much as you want in the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament. $35 to enter. Live and slow drafts going on all weekend long. $100K grand prize. Check it out at myffpc.com. We are pressing on, into the 16th round. Katron Allen, Ryan, is a player that just went off the board to Team 2. Team 2 is owned by Colin Baxter. That's Sonics forever. Do you have a horse in that Washington backfield? It seems like FFPC players, Ryan, are more so backing Rachaad White, but still kind of a nebulous situation there, right?
Yeah, I'd give me the rookie. Give me Katron Allen in the 16th compared to wherever else, Krosky Merritt and Rachaad White. Rachaad White was being pushed out of Tampa, it felt like, for multiple years. I don't think Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is more than a flash in the pan. And so I love the idea of betting on the rookie. Maybe you get a little bit more there. You have the mobile quarterback while he's healthy to help with the run game. And so, yeah, again, with someone who loves doing RB, zero or hero RB or whatever, I like Katron Allen, put him in the bucket of these guys that I like drafting in this range.
Sean, what's something that sets your BS detector off when you're reading what beat writers are saying this time of year? The first week of camp, best shape of their life, blah blah blah. is there something you read it and you automatically are like, you know what, I can't subscribe to this? What's the sort of thing that we as fantasy players should be looking to tune out rather than tune into from beat writers and coaches and players at this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially before the pads are on, you're going back to Cyrus Allen there, as Kramer highlighted, he's like a smaller guy. So running routes where there's no pads and no contact is completely different. So I think the stuff I do pay attention to is kind of, hey, who's running with the ones, who's not. And then I would, factor in, hey, a lot of these coaches put rookies farther down the depth chart with the idea of like kind of making them earn it. So don't necessarily get too, oh my God, he's never going to see the field, he's running with the 3. Some of that you got to kind of know how the coach and different coaches approach it differently. But yeah, super successful receivers in these and running backs too. Like when we're not even tackling to the ground, I would just take it with a grain of salt. And obviously, as you mentioned, the shape of these guys. Now, some of it is, I would take the negative if there's like some red flags with negative conditioning, guys not coming into shape,
like Travis Kelce
with the dad body,
catching some strays out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's on his wedding. I'm sure he went on a honeymoon. That I think is something you could take a little bit of a story from, but. Yeah, just keep in mind this is without tackling, without pads on. I would even, and again, don't get sucked too much into preseason, but if they're doing it against live contact, then I'm a little more willing to take it as an indicator there.
I want to point out to you guys, and you're going to have to take my word for it, because I had to scroll down a little bit, but Team 4, that's Bill Wonky's squad. He took Loveland at the 209, added George Kittle at the 704, Terrence Ferguson, who is my favorite Rams tight end this year, at the 1504. And then he also adds Tonjes at the 1704 to kind of back up Kittle. What do you make of specifically about the way he handled tight ends? Despite having 3 tight ends on his roster, he still felt he needed to go out and get Tonjes. And his second player, Ryan, was a tight end in Colston Loveland, who should be a huge component of his team this year. Is that too much, or can you not have enough tight ends when you are factoring in the Kittle injury as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've never handcuffed a tight end in my life.
Yeah.
I think again, I'd rather take a shot on a receiver here. I like the Tank Dell angle. Maybe that's a high upside shot. I don't understand. Like Kittle's backup will be available for you at $200 or less on the free agent waiver. So I don't see the value. Also, you're probably going to drop one of those tight ends the second you have to do something. And so it's not, again, these late round picks, I'd rather them be someone that you're going to be able to determine something between now and the start of the season. Like that's kind of the advantage to me. So I don't love either of these. I mean, I don't mind the Ferguson pick. Maybe we learn more, but handcuffing a tight end, that feels like bad process.
The Niners that are on his roster, Tonjes, Kittle, and Stribling. I was looking for Brock Purdy on this team. He doesn't have it. However, he did go with Chase at the 104, and he added Joe Burrow in the 8th round, which is just incredible value. Although, Sean, and I'll say this too, maybe quarterbacks are not going to be running as much this year. I don't know. Maybe they will be, but I know Joe Burrow is not going to be. Do you feel like when you're taking Burrow in the 8th, understanding that in order for him to pay off, what is he, quarterback 5? In order to pay off quarterback 5, dude's probably going to have to throw for the better part of 5,000 yards and the better part of 40 touchdowns because he's not running. How do you feel about drafting pocket passers like that offer very little with their legs, in the first 5 or 6 quarterbacks that are going off the board?
Yeah, I'm always a rushing quarterback guy. I mean, I would again look at some of the other guys, Jaden Daniels, Justin, Jalen Hurts, Jackson Dart. I think guys who, to your point, will get you those rushing. I mean, I'm a big Malik Willis guy. I think there's massive upside for Malik Willis. Again, you're going off a very small sample size, but he's going to be out there. I think they're going to look to run the ball a ton. But I think a lot of it's going to be some design quarterback run stuff. I could see the Dolphins receivers being covered down the field.
Wait, he's still available?
Yes, he is.
Wow.
Yeah. So to me, I would love to be just drafting Malik Willis in the 18th round instead of Joe Burrow in the 8th. Oh, and I get it. Joe Burrow's a very good NFL quarterback, but to your point, without the rushing, it's tough for me to get excited. And even what he did in round 14, just take Matt Stafford in round 14 and then maybe Malik Willis in round 17. Then you kind of have a little bit of both style there. And three
quarterbacks there with Malik Willis. That's interesting.
I'm 3 quarterbacks. I would just go with 2, but I don't think you need to the guy who drafted now in best ball. I have a lot of best ball, Jalen Hurts, Malik Willis as my 2 quarterbacks.
I do too. So that's kind of weird how that works out.
They're guys who we know have some rushing upside, and Malik Willis could run for like 70, 80 yards a game. I'm very optimistic on his running ability. So I'm all for mobile quarterbacks.
Is there anything to be said for backstacking with Malik Willis? I mean, it's tough to backstack a guy who is going so late in drafts, but if you do have Willis on your team, Sean, would you look at, a guy like, I don't know, Malik Washington or Jalen Tolbert or somebody like that?
Totally. Yeah. Cause start him as your flex or whatever.
Greg Dulcich. He already went.
Dulcich went pretty high, I think. And in this format, Dulcich, I mean, he might lead the team in receptions with like 80 receptions. So now he was drafted much higher here, but yeah, I don't mind if you're going to be starting Malik Willis for these weeks, and why not plug at least one pass catcher with him?
In that Joe's pros versus Joe's draft, we did backstack Malik Willis with Tolbert.
Yeah.
I will bring this up too. Remy LeBeau, teammate who just took Malik Willis, as we were talking about him, does have a Dolphin on his team. His first round pick, a second round pick, Devon Achane. So he's got the Willis Achane stack on the. We got Josh Allen and James Cook in the 12 hole, and we got Devon Achane and Malik Willis in the 8 hole. This is the new thing. Quarterback running back stacks are the new quarterback wide receiver or quarterback.
Well, and I'm also high on Achane because we've seen what mobile quarterbacks can do to improve. They're going to be like a lot of those read options where the linebacker doesn't know who to play. Do you crash the end there or whatever? Do you go after the running back Achane or do you go after that quarterback? And it could be one of those late things. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley had a great season in 2024. Saquon had 2,000 rushing yards. A lot of it was because linebackers and defensive ends and whoever they would do those read options, and it forces the defender to play like, okay, I can't completely bail on the quarterback, and then you're stuck halfway in between, and then Saquon Barkley, breaks free for an 80-yard touchdown. I think Malik Willis and Devon Achane are going to help each other in the rushing game, and I think they're being slept on in fantasy.
I want to just real briefly call back to what we were talking about with Bill Wonke's Niners that he had drafted in the 4-hole tonight. We were talking about Kittle and Tonjes and Stribling, and he points out too, he's watching us on YouTube. He says the do something is after we see the week 1 score, which you got to keep in mind. You get the free look with the Niners this year live from Australia in week 1. So he can find out whether Kittle's even making the trip. If Tonjes puts up, like one of those, who was the backup tight end for the Chiefs that had that big week 1 that one year, and everybody was drafting him in like the round 9 or round 8 because they wanted that week 1
points.
Score. Yeah, they wanted the points, and so that's a possibility there. And to Bill's point, if Kittle's playing, Tonjes is an easy cut after week 1 just to see what happens. So I get it, and the argument is definitely defensible here. Ryan, let me ask you about James Conner, one of my favorite late round picks, both in best ball and managed leagues. He goes at the 1808 tonight, running back 69. I just think something's got to give in that Arizona running back room, and I don't think I know Jeremiah Love. And I know Tyler Algier will not be shipped off the Cardinals before week 1. I cannot say the same about James Conner. And I wonder if he's a guy that might go to a running back needy team, or if there's a camp injury, if he ends up getting traded to somebody. So yeah, not a lot to like in his current situation, but his current situation could be with a different team prior to week 1. And because of how little you have to invest in him, Ryan, I just think that's a great pick.
I have seen people theorize that if LaFleur and Hackett are the mad scientists, they're getting excited about James Conner just to raise the interest in James Conner. And to your point, they gave Tyler Algier now. They drafted Love now, and James Conner is a leftover from the previous situation. That
he's the easiest guy to move on, and Arizona's clearly playing for the future to some degree this season. Moving James Conner, if you can get anything for him, I think I could totally see that. So he's a guy that's a fun to draft him and stash him and hope he ends up in a better situation there. Another late round running back, Sean Tucker, in round 18, a guy who had 7 rushing touchdowns all day with that. I mean, there was been a lot of questions with Bucky Irving. It's clean so far. They bring in Kenny Gainwell, who's going to be the pass catching guy. Gainwell's not a goal line guy. I mean, if something happens to Bucky Irving, or if they just continue to use Tucker near the goal line, that's a good opportunity.
What do you make of and I know Bucky Irving's been falling in drafts, Sean. Tonight he goes at the 507 running back 26. I've been saying if Tucker's getting goal line and Gainwell's catching passes, what it's like Office Space. What is it exactly that you do around here, right? Because if Irving is just strictly going to be like in between the 20s and not catching passes, I understand the 5th round's pretty good for him, but I just haven't been able to. And I know there's plenty of Irving truthers that are probably screaming at their computers and their phones right now, but I haven't been able to wrap my head around taking Irving still that early with these other 2 guys looming in that backfield.
Yeah, 100%. You look at my best ball portfolio. I don't think I have much Bucky Irving, if at all. And yeah, some of it was injuries, but there was also like public questions about his mentality surrounding the game. There was like rumors about him possibly retiring. Now they say it's all good and blah, 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 but certainly enough red flags there. And then even when he was out there, 3.4 yards per attempt last season, on 173 carries. That's a decent sample size. And we saw Tucker be more successful in my mind. So I don't know. Eye test is kind of telling me Sean Tucker is more interesting, especially considering the massive difference in what you have to give up draft capital wise. And then you bring in Kenneth Gainwell, aka Kenny G, who's going to be involved in the passing game. So I to your point, I don't see there's just so many ways this goes wrong for Bucky Irving in my mind that I'm not going to take him in round 5.
Has somebody put together a Kenneth Gainwell highlight film set to Kenny G's saxophone? I think that would just be tremendous.
When he was on the Eagles and he would make a big play, I would yell, "Kenny G, play that sax."
We got to put that.
Tried to get that going. Didn't really catch on, but I was yelling it a bunch. But yeah, Kenny G highlights would be great.
I'd love to see it. Somebody get out there and make it. I just noticed Zechariah Branch going off the board with the final pick in the 19th round, guys. Certainly going higher in FFPC Dynasty and Empire Dynasty startups, which we have available at myffpc.com. $100 is where they start up. They go up to $5,000. Play fantasy football year round and draft players like Zechariah Branch. Watch them grow in front of your eyes and help you win a dynasty title. myffpc.com is where to go for that. Dontavian Wicks, tell me about him, Sean. A guy that never saw a pass he didn't like dropping in Green Bay. Are things going to be different for him in Philadelphia this year?
Yeah, sure. Love Dontavian Wicks. Again, these are the type of guys I like taking in these late rounds, right? Where, okay, all of a sudden Mekhi Lemon's not having an amazing preseason. Hey, he's coming along slowly. Maybe he's not doesn't quite hit the ground running. Now they drafted him with the idea that maybe he should be out there for a decent amount, but maybe Dontavian Wicks has a great fit. You're bringing over Sean Mannion, so he's obviously very familiar with him. This is all the upside case. The downside is pretty obvious that I think Devontae Smith and Goddard are going to eat a lot of the passing stuff. You also have guys like Hollywood Brown for the Eagles receivers there. But there was a nice training camp highlight of Dontavian Wicks going up and grabbing this ball, and Hurts giving him a high five saying, "I like that shit." So certainly either a young player or a new situation. Those are the type of guys I like in these late rounds. So I don't mind it. Certainly some upside, but how many weeks are you going to be starting Dontavian Wicks? I don't know. But certainly an interesting. I mean, compared to who he's going around, Kashan Boutte, he's another guy that there's always rumors about him being traded, maybe ending up in a new spot there. He's flashed early here in camp. I would rather kind of take those guys than like a Jerry Jeudy, So yeah, new situation. There's always the chance for upside.
The final pick of the draft is the first pick of this year's NFL draft. Fernando Mendoza going off the board to team one. That is the Georgia Express, GH Divine, who will wrap things up tonight. Last point I want to make, and I can't believe, I think this is, I mean, we touched on McConkey. We touched on Quentin Johnston a little bit, but I do want to ask you, Ryan, as the final point tonight, Trey Harris goes off the board in the final round tonight to Mongo is appalled. John Wagner makes him his final selection tonight. Is Trey Harris going to be closer to fantasy asset that you'll be able to deploy certain weeks, or is he just going to gum up the works for guys like Johnston, McConkey, and Gadsden this year?
It's hard to imagine he's useful without. I mean, he's catching touchdowns in camp, so people are getting excited about it. But it does seem like he's going to fall behind at least three guys in terms of offensive priority, if not four. And so yeah, again, we have a lot of time now, so maybe you're betting on a bit of an injury. But yeah, I would probably have used that as on a different bullet there.
Yeah. Anything else as we wrap up tonight, guys, that stuck out to you as far as picks or team construction from anybody you see tonight, as these 12 players are all gunning for $1 million grand prize in the Big Gorilla? Anything stick out to you? Takeaways? Obviously, I'm going to give you the caveat. You are not allowed to say anything about Team 9 because Roderick Dobson has gotten more run on this stream tonight than he ever has before. It was a lot of fun talking about his team. What about some of these other squads with some of these other picks? Anything stand out?
Yeah, I mean, just quick eye test. I do like Team 8. I mean, you get the Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert. Obviously, I'm a fan, but on top of that, Devon Achane, who I'm super high on. Emeka Big as our buddy Gronk likes to say here. Hold on, there.
Good structure.
Definitely a guy who has like a nice jump up. You get Ted McMillan year 2, Jadarian Price. Love that pick. So Carnell Tate, fun rookie. DK Metcalf there in Pittsburgh. Don't mind that at all. So And then Kenyon Sadiq, massive upside there. You get a floor with Juwan Johnson, Claiborne, another late round guy. I like taking a shot on. So yeah, team 8, I really like, honestly, just looking at the board.
Yeah, 4 rookies on that team in Price, Tate, Claiborne, and Sadiq. So certainly the unopened gift, the mystery box, door number 2. A lot of that going on this squad, which we all like to draft. Ryan, your final thought for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, team 1, love team 1. I think a lot of guys that I'm drafting a lot of, whether it's Quinshon Junkins, Burden, Likely, Dowdle, Wandell Robinson. I love the late round receivers that he picked up that are strong, high floor guys. Algier and Pacheco are 2 of the better handcuffs in the league this year. Juwan Jennings, Dolchich. Juwan Jennings is going to be on the field a ton for that team. He's going to be in the red zone packages. So yeah, I like this team a lot. After Caleb Williams, we don't have to talk about Daniel Jones, but I can see the value as a backup. But I think from a structure standpoint, I really like this team.
The X accounts are Sean T. Green and Kramer Centric, and of course, Gambling Podcast. Sean, gamblingpodcast.com is that the best way to follow or sportsgamblingpodcast.com? Is that the best way for everybody to follow everything you guys are doing?
Yep, hit that up. Can't miss us over there. And yeah, doing 32 NFL team previews. We're also in that 32 NFL team previews giving away $1,000 NFL future bet. So you listen to each episode where we break down the teams and giving away one lucky person will win $1,000 NFL future. And I'll ask this to you, Eric. If you had $1,000 NFL future, you can put it on anything. What would I know I'm putting you on the spot. What jumps out as a maybe Raiders to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. What are you doing with your $1,000 free bet?
No, I'm not a big long shot guy when it comes to that. Yeah. So are we talking strictly teams to win the title this year?
No,
anything you want.
I'm giving you it could be a win total. It could be
player prop.
Could be most receptions, whatever it is. I'm giving you $1,000 at the sports book. You got to put it on something. What are you going with?
I will say this, and I don't know what it's at. But my guess is based on what I have read, what I have heard, how people have been drafting Baker Mayfield. Give me the over on Baker Mayfield passing touchdowns and Baker Mayfield passing yardage. That's what I would put. If I could split that 1,000, that's what I would do. I put 500.
I like that.
500 on the other. Because I just think Tampa is in for a massive rebound this year. As long as everybody stays healthy, they were just decimated big time.
Yeah.
Every skill position player along the offensive line as well. I think there's a big bounce back coming in Tampa.
Yards is 35.99.5.
Yeah.
Which that is a pretty nice price there. And then touchdowns is 25.5. And you can get plus 120 to the over there, Sean.
Oh, yeah. There you
go. He's done it. Done it the last 3 years,
and he's trying to get
a
paid.
Chip on his shoulder.
And he's trying to get paid.
That's the kind of Baker you want.
I can't remember who was talking about this the other day. No, it was today. It's some radio show I was listening to, and the guy said, we talk about this Sorsby having a gambling problem. Baker Mayfield keeps gambling on himself. Does he have a gambling problem?
Yeah,
because and it seems like every single time he bets on himself, he wins. And I'm betting him winning on himself again this year.
I like that.
Let's go,
guys.
Like it.
This was fun. Always fun to hang out and talk shop with you. And we got to cover a live draft tonight. Thanks so much for coming on your Pros versus Joe stream. Good luck there. Good luck in the main event. Good luck in all your leagues and in all your bets this year as well. We'd love to have you back anytime, and enjoy your weekend, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
That is Sean Green and Ryan Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast at Gambling Podcast on X. SportsGamblingPodcast.com is where to find them as they help me out with live Big Gorilla draft coverage tonight. Also want to remind everybody, too, we made a bit of an announcement today. If you are one of the hundreds of people that have been playing FFPC Player One, we did move up the minimum from $5 to $10 just temporarily. On that. So if you want to play Player One for $10, you still can do that. Just the $5 ones, we're taking a pause on that just for right now. They'll come back eventually. Just right now, $10 and on up, all the way up to $350 is where you can play there. Why is Player One so much fun? Because as soon as you register, you're in your league right away. You're in your draft right away against 11 smart FFPC CPU opponents. You can win cash, FFPC main event entries, Big Gorilla entries. I always encourage everybody, sign up for the $10 one. Just try it out once. You may love it. It may not be for you, but I think if you try it out once, you're really going to like it because a lot of people have so far. That's FFPC Player One. I remind everybody to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. The schedule that we have coming up this week was awesome, obviously. Next week, it's going to be a lot of fun as well. So Sunday night, we have Pros versus Joes on August 2nd, which is going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be myself and Dave Terpoli on the call for Pros versus Joes number 4. This is going to be a fun one. Just to let you know, the Joes in that draft on Sunday night is going to be Vince Staffolino, Chris and Brandon Betts, Griffin Bushel and Brian Wells, Tim Deneau and Tim Bolu, former FFPC main event champions, Matt and Scott Gruberger, Troy Wells, and Nicholas Trice. The FFPC or the industry pros, Mike Shope from WGR 550 in Buffalo and ADP chasing, Davis Maddock from chip chasing, Connor Allen for 4 for 4 in DLF, JJ Zachariason from lateround.com, Theo Greminger from RotoWire, Stacy Perez from Fantasy and Frames, and Jared Smola from Draft Sharks. That is a murderer's row, not only of Joes, but pros as well. Don't miss that draft. 8 p.m. right here on this YouTube channel. We'll also have it for you on X and Facebook with myself and Dave Terpoli and a lot of those people joining us on the call for that draft. That is Sunday. We will have more Pros versus Joes Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then we will wrap up the live Pros versus Joes drafts this year on Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. That'll be the final. Then on Wednesday, we have a live high-stakes fantasy football hour for you. Joining us. No, I beg your pardon. We do not have a show on Wednesday. Why? Because we have a live Big Gorilla draft that Farrell and I will be covering for you next Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. A lot of talented players signing up for that one. It is full. So we'll have that for you an hour early on next Friday night. Next Thursday night, we will have FFPC Insider Access at 7 o'clock with yours truly and RotoWire's Jim Coventry. It was just on the Fantasy Football Marathon with him. He just drafted in Pros versus Joes. We're going to talk about his draft. We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff that Jim is producing for RotoWire, which has just been a bastion of content. You saw Ian Harditz and Theo Greminger from RotoWire draft a live Big Gorilla at 1 p.m. Eastern time today for $1 million. Go back and watch it on Ian Harditz's YouTube channel if you didn't see it, but that was a lot of fun to watch that as well. That's what's coming up next week. What's great about tonight is we are wrapping up. It's about 14 minutes until the top of the hour. We have another show for you coming up at the top of the hour at 10 p.m. Eastern. Myself and Farrell Elliott, along with 4-time FFPC main event champ and 2024 KFFSC main event champion Craig Campbell, is going to join us at the top of the hour for an episode of Extra Reps. So your fantasy football night goes on. Go get a snack, go get a drink, go hit the head, come back and watch another hour of FFPC fantasy football chatter coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight. That is going to do it for live FFPC draft coverage. Thank you so much for watching, listening, streaming, downloading. We appreciate each and every one of you. Check out FFPC Chop Leagues. Just don't be the lowest scoring team in your league, and you will win your FFPC Chop League this year. It's a lot of fun. They start off at $5 or $35 and go up from there. And something brand new we offer this year that's been pretty popular so far. So check out FFPC Chop Leagues at myffpc.com. If you're looking for some drafting fun tonight, plenty of Big Gorillas, Baby Gorillas, and both best ball tournaments. We have those going all the way until 1 a.m. tonight, and they'll start bright and early tomorrow as well. There's no excuse not to draft this weekend. Training camp is here, and August is here tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. For Ryan Kramer, for Sean Green, I'm Eric Balkman. This has been FFPC live draft coverage. Appreciate each and every one of you. We'll talk with you again Sunday night for Pros versus Joes number 4.